The moon in our night sky is a celestial body that we've all grown accustomed to. It's been there for billions of years and will continue to be there for billions more. Or will it? What if the moon just disappeared tomorrow? How would our lives change without the moon? Would life still go on as usual? Well, here's how life would change if the moon disappeared. The tides in our oceans are greatly affected by the gravitational force of the moon, but it plays a crucial role in the lives of nocturnal animals and humans alike. Have you ever looked up at the moon and wondered if it might affect your mood or well-being? According to data analyzed over several decades, crime rates tend to peak during the full moon. These effects would no longer be a part of our lives. No more sleepless nights, increased aggression, or altered hormone levels. Of course, these changes wouldn't be immediately noticeable. After all, it would take about 6 months for Earth to reach a point directly opposite the Sun. But once we reach that point, take a moment to appreciate its profound impact on our world. It's a celestial wonder that plays a vital role in shaping our planet and our lives. Thank you for joining me on this journey of cosmic discovery. And as we continue to explore the wonders of the universe, I encourage you to keep an eye on the moon, for in its ever-changing phases, we find a reflection not only of the cosmos, but also of ourselves. Until next time, keep looking up and stay curious. The absence of sunlight during the day would become glaringly obvious, plunging our planet into darkness, and with the loss of moonlight at night, the world would turn into a graveyard of perpetual shadows. This includes crimes like murder, assault, and even suicide rates. It is important to note that the moon has always been there for us since the beginning of human civilization. Billions of years ago, it was a scorching hot ball of rock and dust that collided with Earth. This impact unleashed tremendous energy, forming a thick cloud of debris around our planet. As this debris rose into the atmosphere, it cooled and solidified, eventually forming the moon we see today. Over time, the moon has lost mass through a process called space weathering. Micrometeorites constantly bombard the moon's surface, causing material to escape its gravitational pull and drift away into space. This continuous erosion has resulted in the moon getting smaller over the eons. We've relied on it to regulate our calendars and predict seasons. In fact, the word month itself comes from the name of the moon. Before we had fancy space telescopes, we used to predict lunar eclipses by watching the moon's cycle. And even today, the moon continues to inspire artists, poets, and dreamers around the world. It's a symbol of love, beauty, and the endless mysteries of the universe. Experts believe that the brightness of the light during a full moon disrupts our circadian rhythm, leading to sleep deprivation and potentially contributing to these behavioral changes. And who could forget the impact of the moon on romance? From the tides to the seasons, from the animals to the plants, and even from the criminals to the lovers, the moon's influence extends far beyond what we might realize. It's a silent, steadfast companion that has been by our side for countless years. Should we ever lose the moon, whether temporarily or permanently, it would undoubtedly leave a void in our lives that would be felt in ways we can only imagine. There's a saying that goes, "Beware the full moon when men become wolves." While it sounds like something out of a fairy tale, there's a scientific explanation behind it. During the full moon, the increase in nighttime light can trigger the release of more testosterone in men, leading to heightened aggression and risk-taking behavior. On the other hand, the brightness of the full moon may have a calming effect on women, making them more agreeable and less likely to engage in aggressive behavior. This shift in behavior can sometimes cause friction between men and women, possibly leading to relationship issues. While it might sound far-fetched, there is some truth to this idea. The moon's gravitational pull affects not only the tides, but also the human body, which is about 60% water. Some studies have suggested that this gravitational pull can influence our sleep patterns and hormone levels. In fact, the phrase "once in a blue moon" isn't just an idiom. It actually refers to a rare event known as a blue moon, which occurs when there are 2 full moons in a single calendar month. Interestingly, the extra stress caused by the second full moon in a month can lead to higher rates of heart attacks and other health issues. This phenomenon highlights the subtle ways in which the moon can affect us. For instance, many nocturnal animals, such as owls, rely on moonlight to hunt effectively. They use the moonlight to spot prey and navigate their surroundings during the night. Without the moon, these animals would face difficulties hunting and could potentially face starvation. Similarly, nocturnal insects that illuminate themselves using moonlight, such as fireflies, would likely struggle to find food or mates in the absence of moonlight. Even human activities would be disrupted as farmers, for example, heavily rely on moonlight to determine the best time to plant crops. They can tell when soil moisture levels are optimal for planting by observing the amount of moonlight reflected off the surface of the soil. Farmers have used this method for centuries to ensure successful crops. Without the moon, they would lose this valuable guidance. Every day, we experience high and low tides due to the pull of the moon's gravity. Its gravitational force has an impact many times greater than the sun does. Without the moon's gravitational pull, the oceans would still be affected by the sun's gravity, but not nearly as much. This means that coastal areas would experience tides only about 1.5 feet high. This is barely enough to cover the protruding rocks and sandbars in many places, making swimming much more dangerous. And even worse, with the loss of tides, many coastal ecosystems would also disappear. Swamps, marshes, and rocky pools would be among the ecosystems most negatively impacted by the lack of tidal activity. These ecosystems are home to various animals and plants that have adapted to the cyclical changes brought on by the tides. Without the tides, these species would struggle to survive. The sun is about 333,000 times larger than the moon, but the moon's gravity is more influential simply because it's much closer. While the moon is about 81 times smaller than the Earth, it's also roughly 470 times closer to us. So what would happen if this nearby gravitational force just disappeared? In fact, the force of this gravity makes the Earth itself slightly wider at the equator than it is tall at the poles. So what would happen if the moon were to suddenly vanish from our planet's gravitational influence, which is then converted into drinkable water? Without the moon, these plants would cease to function, leading to water shortages in these areas. In addition to the loss of fresh water, the absence of the moon would result in longer, hotter summers and colder, wetter winters. You see, the moon's proximity to the Earth causes it to reflect some of the sun's heat back into our lower atmosphere. Without the moon, less heat would be reflected and our summers would be unbearably hot. Conversely, during winter, the moon helps distribute the sun's heat more evenly around the globe. Without the moon, the heat wouldn't be as effectively spread out, leading to extremely cold conditions. Well, because the moon is so close to the Earth compared to other celestial bodies like the sun, for starters, there would be no more tides. Furthermore, coastal communities rely heavily on the tides for water supply. Many desalination plants use tidal activity to obtain energy, but perhaps the most significant impact of losing the moon would be the absence of moonlight. We often overlook the benefits of moonlight. Now let us talk about how the disappearance of the moon would affect us humans on a more personal level. Even the criminal justice system takes the phases of the moon into account. If the moon were to disappear tomorrow, well, this scenario might seem like a plot from a science fiction movie. However, the moon has not always been the celestial body we know today. As we marvel at the moon's presence in our night sky, it's worth considering how different our world would be without it. So next time you find yourself gazing up at the moon,